Time for the Beer Hammer podcast. Once again, we're bringing you a bunch of stuff about miniature wargaming and how to have fun with it while drinking beer and doing whatever with your buddies. This is about casual gaming. We're not, we don't go too big into the whole tournament competitive scene, though we don't have a problem with it. So don't get us wrong on that. Or we'll come to your house and probably stand at the foot of your bed in the middle of the night and stare at you. Weirdly.
Ooh. It's one of Eric's main hobbies.
Yeah, I do that. Yeah, I also crab walk across the ceiling. But anyway, that's a whole totally different story.
Well, that one gets in depth.
Yeah, it does get in depth. As some of you may know, I'm your host, Eric. I've been on every single podcast to date. Haven't missed a single one.
Ever. For all of them.
For eternity.
Look at this guy. What a big ego. I've been on every podcast.
Yeah, I'm special. I made myself special. Yeah. Anyway, I'm joined today by Joe Thompson, whom you've met before.
Hey, guys. It's me, Joe, the Grand Poobah of Graphite. I've only been here 3 times, counting today.
That's his ego talking. And I'm joined with Paul, whom you know very well.
Hello.
Hi, Paul.
Oh, boy.
Paul likes to dance.
I do. For a fat kid, I will cut a rug all day.
He can pop and lock like nobody's business.
Well, I mean, only if there's a good whistle tune going on. So,
Somebody cue Jamiroquai.
Do, 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 do.
Today, we're gonna talk about the Genestealer Cults codex.
Sneaky little Faragers.
Yeah, because it comes out. We're gonna go back to 40K for a little bit. We haven't been talking too much about it.
Betrayer.
We're gonna bring it back. Bringing back the 40K. So we're going to talk a lot about the Genestealer Cults Codex. We will probably have a good bit of the Song of Ice and Fire because the Free Folk just came out.
Woohoo!
Smash, giant smash. Also, Shield Wives. Or no, Spear Wives. Spear Wives. I almost said that wrong. Don't hate me. Because who doesn't want Spear Wives?
I want a harem of them.
Yeah. I don't see that ending well for you.
No, something about the spear part probably means terrible things are going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think Joe's going to go more for the wife end of that, more for the spear end of that.
Really can't be much worse.
No. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about some of our experiences having messed around with the M3E Malifaux 3rd edition open beta more and more and more.
Oh, hell yeah.
Dun, dun.
And
you guys are going to make me play Malifaux. That's the problem.
That's not a problem.
Again.
It's awesome. And M3E is really good.
I have heard that a lot. So,
also, I do have an announcement to make. We are going to be changing the schedule for the podcast. We're going to be recording on Sunday evenings. As you guys have heard on some of the previous episodes, I run a hobby league every year up at Paul's shop, Vendetta Games, and in Dahlonega, Georgia, which is awesome.
Shameless plug-in.
His shop is awesome. Which, he doesnand actually pay me or do anything for me or give me anything fancy for these plugs.
Except for blowjobs.
Because I like his store a lot.
Only soft ones, though.
and I mean, I like him a lot because obviously
I'm a fat kid that dance.
Yeah, well, there's that.
I mean,
you put on sparkle pants and cut a rug. I'm down.
Sparkle pants.
Yeah, I'm on sparkle pants.
I must see this.
But so yeah, we're going to be recording on Sunday nights, and there's going to be some content that has to go along with the Hobby League. We're going to give that as a little teaser for the people who play in the Hobby League, that there's going to be some fancy stuff on this podcast that they'll want to listen to. And we're going to be recording after our Hobby League events, which are going to be every other week on Sunday nights. So the podcast will probably be released either, Monday morning, Monday night, depending on when I get around to actually doing the editing and uploading it. It'll be released earlier in the week, and it'll be a little bit more of a dead set schedule for about the next 7 months because we'll be doing everything up there.
That sounds about appropriate, and it'll take a little bit of extra time with the editing because of the putting in the battle reports and all that stuff, as we'll want to do a very basic string of battle reports to kind of let everybody know where people are standing and stuff like that, and what's going on with the Hobby League as it advances. So.
Yep, we certainly will. And of course, all that stuff will be at the end, so the listeners that aren't in the Hobby League don't have to like sit through 45 minutes worth of nonsense about stuff they don't care about to get to the stuff they want to listen to. So, however, the people in the Hobby League, you'll need to listen to the whole podcast, because if you don't, I'll thump you.
And no bonus points.
Yeah, no bonus points whatsoever.
Just put a bonus question in every...
There will be quizzes every single Hobby League event.
What was Eric's favorite painted color this week?
What is Hobby League episode 5, Alex?
It's not Jeopardy. Jackass.
But it could be.
We should make it that.
You jackass.
But yeah, as for projects and things we've been doing, we've been painting stuff. Joe has been learning to build Malifaux miniatures, which I'm sure he'll tell you about his experiences here shortly. Yeah. I've been working on painting various things. I just worked a little bit on one of the 8, the Riptide, doing some candy colors, or what do they call it? Candy. I don't know. Some kind of coating thing that's nice and fancy and shows the colors underneath. You do it with an airbrush; it's cool.
Science.
So specific.
It's science, and I don't know shit. But anyway, I've been working on that and building Malifaux by the crap ton, because I took to Malifaux kind of like I do GW, which is like I'm going to buy everything I can get my hands on, and then realized I need like a fair fraction of that.
Works out for everybody else that plays, though, because there's a lot to choose from. So it's like, when we get to Thursday game nights, it's like, hey, Joe, what do you want to play? What you got? And then he pulls out the box and it's like, oh, shit, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, and I'm glad you scrubs finally decided to buy some of your own models.
Hey, Eric, in the spirit of Beer Hammer podcast, what you drinking tonight?
Joe brought me some Green Man ESB Special Amber Ale. It's from the Green Man Brewing Company in Asheville, North Carolina. It's a good little beer. I do suggest checking it out because it's delicious.
Hey, look at that. Twinsies, man. I am also drinking the Green Man ESB Special Amber Ale. I can't even speak.
Joe's already had
too much.
Yep. I've had 2 sips and I'm already drunk. I'm a total lightweight. Green Man, for those who are not familiar, they are a fantastic brewery. I visited them a couple years ago, went up to Asheville and did the tour. Super cool guys. They started out as like practically nothing. They were actually part of a bar. They were on the side of a bar, and now they have this cool operation. Make great beer. Really cool fellows. If you're ever in Nashville, check them out. And yeah. Hey, Paul, do you want one of these?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
All right. Just thought I'd check.
What have you been doing, Paul?
Orcs. I've been painting and building orcs.
You've been doing orcs?
That must get tiring.
Well, I mean, they go faster, so it works it out.
There's lots of DACA.
There's more DACA in the pew pew. Excellent. Well, my job here is done.
Peace, I'm out.
Cheese it.
You guys are bitches. So orcs, doing lots of orcs?
Yeah. Well, so prepping for the Hobby League stuff, leading up to that, we're looking to have anywhere, there's going to be a big showing, it looks like, for a lot of that potentially, especially on the hobby aspect. So teaching a lot of new players and stuff. And we've been going through a lot of, there's these cool line of like a transitional metallic colors that we've been playing with. So we've been doing some stuff with that with the orcs, and it makes funky, weird colors. It's like you said with the airbrush, you spray things on, science happens, and bam, weird colors.
Yep.
So,
hey, weird question about the orcs, and this is just completely as a kind of a
noob. You suck.
Yeah, I know. I've only really ever seen shades of green orcs. I mean, are there other colors? Could you do
no, because green is best.
Well, I like green. I mean, it's one of my favorite. It's my second. Oh no, it's my favorite color. So.
They're fungus.
Oh, okay.
They're green.
But there's orange fungi and
technically you do see in some of the you do actually see in some of the older stuff there are different colors of orcs and some of the mentions and stuff, but generally speaking, green is just the accepted orc flavor.
Okay,
and then as they get older, they turn black.
Yeah, I've seen they turn like a darker, deeper green, and then I have seen people paint their own armies, theme armies, doing blues or like greenish blues and turquoises and sea foams and things like that. But I've never seen any that were just like orange or red or yellow.
I've seen some red ones before. Like a long time ago, I played with a guy and he was all red sun Martian. Like they were all themed up to me as if they had basically were red orcs.
Because I was thinking like some albino ones, like white with some, highlights and stuff, of course, with red eyes could look really cool with those models. That's where I was going.
You could prime them white and do the green spirit. Not the Night Haunt paint, but the other one.
Well, I usually do prime my orcs. If I'm painting orcs, I typically will do the white skin and then build it up with inks.
The green technical paint that GW did, it was the Night Haunt or whatever it was called.
These are no longer orcs. They are irradiated scum.
Right. and you could do that and it would make them look actually really cool because it'd almost be like albino, but they'd have that green and the deeper ridges.
Yeah.
Like they had a little bit of skin tone to them. That'd kind of be neat. Albino orcs. That's a good one.
Hey, it's a free idea just for me.
There you go.
Yeah.
I saw the possibly the worst Warhammer related paint job I've ever seen. And I don't mean like technically. I mean, as far as what they did the McDonald's characters based. And they had like the model sheets and everything.
That's actually hilarious.
It was so disturbing. The Ronald McDonald one was like jump out of your skin scary.
I know I've seen them. They're hilarious. Yeah, I just died laughing when I saw them.
And the Grimace one was like, okay, that one somehow works. What's up with that?
But yep. So moving on, since we're talking about GW stuff and we've all kind of talked about our hobby things and whatnot, we're gonna kind of hop right into the Genestealer Codex because this probably will be a little bit shorter episode just because of all the insanity of my life and everything else, because of the way I am. So most of this is on the Warhammer community website. You can pretty much check out the rules previews and how things work. The coolest mechanic they have brought in that is an entirely new mechanic is how the cult ambush works.
Oh no, blips.
Yes, blips. You can set them up underground, which is basically like a deep strike. Boop. It's nothing too fancy. You got to pop up, turn 2. You got to be more than 9 inches from enemy, yada, yada, yada. If you guys have played Warhammer, you know how this works. If you haven't, you can read the rulebook and figure it out pretty quick because it's pretty straightforward.
Go play Warhammer.
Yeah. And you should join the Hobby League and come play Warhammer. And if you say, but I'm too far away, find one in your area. A lot of FLGSs do the same things we're doing. Mm-hmm. However, they do have the cult ambush rule, which lets you set up blips. And they actually come with the codex. There's 28 blip counters, and it lets you basically set aside some units. And then however many units you set aside, you can put the blips out during deployment. And then when you actually go to move the models, or I believe it's after your opponent's movement phase if they go first, or at the end, is it the end or beginning of your movement phase? Essentially,
you just put the blips out and then out come your units, and they don't know what's where. They just know there's stuff there. And that's a fantastically... That's an extremely powerful ability.
Right, because you can have like one of the Lehman Russ tanks and 2 units of neophytes, and somebody can gear up and go, okay, he's got several blips on the table. I'm going to set everything up so my vehicle killing stuff is right near that blip because I think that's where he's going to bring his tank out. And you bring it out on the other blip that's across the table where the Lehman Russ can lay waste to all his infantry, and he's got nothing. He's got a bunch of vehicle killing stuff that can't do a whole lot to your massed infantry that pops out where it needs to pop out. So it really lets you do a strategic deployment that really messes with your opponent. And furthermore, you can there are stratagems that allow scanner decoys. So for one command point, you can play the stratagem scanner decoys, and you can set up a unit from your army that has cold ambush ability. You can place 4 ambush markers for that unit instead of 1. So if you had 3 units in back, you would basically put down 6 blip markers. And only 3 of them are going to be actual units. And you can pick which 3 at the time, whenever you're supposed to reveal it in the rules, you pick which 3 or whatever units you want them to be.
Surprise, there's not even stuff on that side of the battlefield.
So you're basically psyching out the rest of the players.
It's a huge amount of battlefield control, and there's nothing like it whatsoever in any of the other rules of in any of the other codexes or just anything. So it's a very high level of battlefield control that'll be offered through that.
Yep, and it'll let you really do what you need to do and get where you need to get. For another CP, you can basically use this stratagem before you reveal an ambush marker. You can select up to 3 units, excluding vehicles, from your army that are set up in ambush. For each unit that you select, remove 1 ambush marker from the battlefield. The selected units are no longer set up in ambush and are instead set up underground as described in the cult ambush ability. So basically what happens there is you have the blips on the table and somebody goes, oh, I bet everything's going to be right there. And then you pay a CP and you go, no, those units aren't there anymore. They're coming turn 2.
Surprise, deep strike.
Yep, bitch. And then the 3 CP stratagem is a perfect ambush. And you can use this stratagem in the movement phase immediately after you set up an infantry or biker unit from your army that has the cult ambush ability on the battlefield. The unit can either move D6 inches, even if it has arrived as reinforcements, or can shoot with all of its ranged weapons as if it were the shooting phase. Using this stratagem in your own turn does not prevent that unit from shooting in your shooting phase or making a charge in the charge phase of this turn. That's incredibly strong.
Double pew.
Yeah, because you're basically getting to move or shoot in your movement phase before anybody else does. And basically it's like they pop out from underground, guns blazing.
Does that work out? I wonder if how that's going to interact with essentially charging, like just 0 clock charging, like getting in it to win it. So...
yeah, because, they can move up to D6 inches.
Yeah, that could be a huge benefit, So, was that saying you could do that with the 9-inch away deployment or just with the blips?
It is from the blips. So what it is, immediately after you set up an infantry or biker unit from your army that has the cult ambush ability on the battlefield. So basically, once you reveal a blip and you set down your bikes or your neophyte guys or whatever, you can pay the 3 CP to have them shoot whatever's close.
But does it not continue to say even if they come in as reinforcements?
Right.
So reinforcements would be they come in deep striking, just as long as they. So with the wording of that, as long as they have the cult ambush ability, even if they're coming from the underground, 9 inches away, you pay 3 points, roll a d6, bam, 3 or 4, you're 4 or 5 inches away. Yeah, your charge range is much more. You're in it. There's no.
Yeah, because
it's basically it's not a turn 1 charge, but it's a guaranteed reserve charge essentially. Almost guaranteed. You could roll once.
Yeah, because you could basically play that turn 2. Because you could bring in.
Here comes the Genestealers.
The Genestealers, whatever. As long as they have the cult ambush ability, you could pop them out, and during your movement phase, so you could basically at the end of your movement phase, you can put them down as per coming from underground, the deep strike rules, 9 inches away from somebody, so you can pop them out, and then. With Genestealers, you would probably take the D6-inch move to move them anywhere from an inch to 6 inches closer, and then during your assault phase, claim the charge and just get right.
Assuming with the wording and the whole 9 yards that's actually an appropriate interaction.
I would assume so because
that's super powerful.
Because you could do it. You could do it like if you had a squad of neophyte hybrids, you could pop them out from underground, then. Basically, you can, instead of moving because you're 9 inches away from an enemy unit, you can shoot with all your ranged weapons, then shoot again once you go into your shooting phase.
Well, another super cool one for that is those squads that can have all flamethrowers.
Right.
And everybody knows how I feel about flamethrowers. 10 guys coming up from underground with 10 flamethrowers, and then they move a D6 because most of the flamethrowers in the game's range is only 8 inches.
Right.
Get in range, and then in your shooting phase, surprise, flamethrowers. 10 flamers, which is 10 auto hits, can kill a lot of crap in Warhammer. So that's fantastic. So very, very usable stratagem.
Yeah, those are very, very usable stuff. Those are probably, and that's kind of how the blips and how all that works that we're going to be seeing. The some of the other stuff, they kind of go into the rules for the new units, the Adelan Jackals, which are the dirt bike guys. These are
the alpha is outstanding.
Yes.
Really cool, dude. No penalties when he moves and shoots his sniper rifle.
Right.
And he has a like a little area buff thing. He can be like, all right, you guys blow that up, and it just happens apparently. So,
and of course they get the skilled outriders rule. They subtract 1 from hit rolls or attacks that target that unit in the shooting phase. So they are -1 to hit.
Extremely important.
Yep. And they get a lot of different weapons. And they can actually have on the little quad ATV guy, they can have a flamethrower that is a 12-inch heavy D6, strength 5, AP -1, auto hit flamethrower.
Wait, you got a dude on an ATV on a 4-wheeler with a flamethrower?
Well, naturally.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's the only solution, right?
Yeah. So I mean,
so it's a 12-inch heavy flamer.
12-inch heavy D6,
12-inch heavy flamer,
auto hits,
skadoosh.
Of course. See, the thing is, I always like get a guy like that in my army, pick him as the linchpin of what I'm going to be doing, and I'm like, he's going to get in there and he's going to take care of that squad of those 5 Terminators or whatever.
He dies horribly.
No, I roll a 1 on the amount of shots. It always happens.
Entire plan for a 2,000-point army with 80 models is 1 dude.
Yep, and don't ever do that because it's a horrible idea. I do it and it fails all the time. The Jackal Alphys, which is the guy with a sniper rifle on the dirt bike, he is kind of your standard sniper rifle thing. He can target characters, and if you roll a 6+, it does 1 mortal wound in addition. However, they are a BS of 2 up.
Yep. The main thing is his ability. He should have a little point click ability.
At the start of your shooting phase, select an enemy unit that is visible and within 36 inches of this model. Until the end of the phase, add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by friendly cult units that target that enemy whilst they are within 6 inches of this model, or within 12 if they are a friendly cult biker unit. An enemy unit can only be selected to target this ability once per phase.
So no stacking, but still.
Right, but you get that bonus to hit, which is really nice, especially when most of your neophytes, I think, are BS4.
Generally speaking, the majority of the army rocks BS4.
Yep. And then, of course, we go into the new characters like the Locust, the Shield of the Masters. He gets a fancy 5-up invulnerable, and he always fights first in the fight phase, even if he didn't charge, which is actually cool. If the enemy has units that charge, but that have a similar ability, then alternate choosing units to fight with, starting with a player whose turn is taking place. So, he basically does some nastiness. Then there's the Clamavus, the guy screaming and yelling with his fancy little thing. Basically, other enemies trying to deep strike you, instead of 9 inches, they have to set up 12 inches away from the model. So if he's kind of up near your front line and somebody tries to deep strike to get at you, they can't.
More battlefield control.
Right. In addition to starting your shooting phase, roll a d6 for each enemy unit that is within 6 inches of any Clamavuses, so you can have multiples of them. It's not a Clamavi, it's a Clamavuses.
Oh, they're Clamavuses. It's a clam of us's.
And on a 6, they suffer a mortal wound.
Well, that's what they get for being near those clams.
I know. You don't get near the Clamavuses. You'll get crabs. I mean, what? Add 1 to the leadership characteristic of cult units whilst they are within 6 inches of any friendly cult Clamavuses.
Oh, yay.
Yay. Because they're all like, hey, we got better morale because we know our leader guy is going to give everybody crabs.
Clams.
In addition, add 1 to advance and charge rolls made for cult units that are within 6 inches of any friendly cult Clamavuses when the roll is made.
Now we're talking about a rule. That's what's up.
Mm-hmm.
Nom, nom, nom your face.
Yup. The next one is the Sanctus, the blade that cuts the chain. He's the dude with a cloak that has a little mini Genestealer hanging out with him. And he's basically a
pocket Genestealer.
Yeah, pocket Genestealer. Who doesn't need a Genestealer in their pocket?
I have one.
You probably do.
Jelly.
This guy has a sniper rifle as well. And this weapon can target enemy characters even if it is not the closest enemy unit. If you roll a wound roll of 6+ for this weapon, it inflicts 1 mortal wound in addition to its normal damage.
Standard pew.
If a Psyker unit loses any wounds as a result of an attack with this weapon, it suffers Perils of the Warp.
Fancy pew.
Yeah.
Perils of the Warp sucks.
Yes, it does. That means if your friend plays Thousand Suns, you might want to look into Genestealer Cults and put a couple of these guys in your army because you will piss your friend off.
That's a 3 of immediately. What are you doing, neener?
Perils of the Warp, bitch. Perils of the Warp. Oh my god. Unfortunately, he can never have a Warlord trait.
Yeah.
However, the Perfect Ambush stratagem has a command point cost of 0 if it is being used to affect this model. So he actually drops a command. The Perfect Ambush was the one.
He can come in and pew twice, or he can come in and move.
Move, yeah. So basically, he gets that for.
Yeah. So he's literally coming in and pewing, goodbye Magnus, Mortarion, etc. Or you don't need that Psyker.
Right.
Just right out the door. Here's what you need. Peril of the Warp.
Yeah.
I brought it just for you.
That is a 3 CP stratagem that you're getting for free.
Granted, only on him, but still.
Right,
Yeah.
right. He can basically pop in and do some whoop, whoop, whoop. And if you can put more than one of him in a unit, you could have several of them that just pop shit and ruin your life.
Clamavusses.
The next one is the Nexos. He's the one who has a neat little hollow map that shows Warhammer World on it. And he gives you the ability to redeploy any of your ambush markers and help throw your opponent off the scent or react even more effectively to their deployment.
I see that, Tyrannid.
And he also is the unit that will gain you command points. Now the other cool thing is the Tectonic Frag Drill, which
I've got one of those too.
Yeah. Save it for the ladies, Joe.
Sparkle pants.
German sparkle pants. But the Tectonic Frag Drill is the piece of terrain that's coming out with the Genestealer Cults, and it's basically it basically lets one infantry or biker unit with a cult ambush ability move off the battlefield if all of its models are on ground level and can move within 1 inch of this model. If a unit does this, remove the selected unit from the battlefield at the end of your next movement phase. Set that unit up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches from enemy models. It basically lets you do deep strike.
It's a teleporter.
Yes.
Mid-combat.
And then it also has 2 abilities, Seismic Tremors.
Nom nom nom.
Which is until the start of your next movement phase, subtract 2 from charge rolls made for units whilst they are within 12 inches of this model. This does not apply to units that can fly, and the effects of multiple Seismic Tremors are not cumulative. So that's anything. Yep. So
it's a fire base. You just slap it down, you use that, and then people charging you have to walk through an army of Genestealers.
However, if you charge, you're still -2 on your charge.
I mean, you don't need to charge if you got more guns.
All right. Then there's the Seismic Quake. Draw a straight imaginary line. Then you wouldn't be drawing anything. 1 millimeter in thickness.
No, it's imaginary.
But you're not drawing. If you draw it, it's real.
That's your Simon.
This is my laser pointer.
Look, I draw lines that are not imaginary every single day. I know what drawing a line is. It's for real. It's not imaginary.
Draw a line to the chopper.
I drew your mom to the chopper.
That requires a license.
Not today, it doesn't.
Bing.
Anyway, 1 millimeter in thickness from any point of one battlefield edge to any point of another battlefield edge in such a way that it crosses this model. Roll a d6 for every unit that unit this line crosses that is on ground level. Unless they can fly. On a 4-up, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, and its move characteristics is halved until the next movement phase.
So somebody literally just paid GW to make a model to sell laser line
pointers.
things.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Excellent.
And
product placement.
It seems like a cool little terrain piece, but I don't know. I mean,
it looks cool.
Tricksy rules that may be situational.
It's very good for Necromunda.
I'm not going to say don't buy it.
Grenades.
It's a cool looking terrain piece. So
and
anyway,
the Ridge Runner.
Yeah, the Ridge Runner's great.
So much talking and not enough important talking.
Right. There's a whole lot more into the gene sex and
oh god, you could read for days.
Yeah, Cult of the Four-Armed Emperor and the Twisted Helix and the Pauper Princes and
Logistic
the Hive
story.
Cult.
They are sexy.
The Bladed Cog and the Rusted Claw and
These sounds like a lot of really fucked up Warhammer sex moves, you know?
Right. I gave that bitch the Rusted Claw.
They're all named after their favorite bar in the Underhive.
Nice.
I mean, where are we going? The Rusted Cog.
Right. The Bladed Cog or the Rusted something or another. I just think Rusty Sheriff's Badge, and that's all I can think of. And that's why I really want to do that, because I don't even care if the rules are good. I just want to look at my opponent and be like, I'm playing Cult of the Rusty Sheriff's Badge.
I want an emaciated unicorn horn.
That doesn't
random.
fit into anything
I know.
that we've been talking about. Joe, you're fired.
I meant for a bar, for the name of a bar.
Oh, a bar name.
Yeah.
An emaciated unicorn. You couldn't say that.
Yeah. You want things people can say when they're
You
drunk.
needed an acronym for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The idea is you want a bar name that someone can say when they're drunk, because once they're drunk, you want them to leave. And if they can't tell the cab where to pick them up, they ain't leaving.
Good point.
Or their friends. Where are you? I'm
Yep. So go with the happy horn.
Rusty Sheriff's Badge.
That's easy.
Ruthererus badge. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
That's
I mean,
okay.
that was very Scooby-Doo of you.
Roboy. We're going to go to the Rusty Rarest badge, Roby.
I'm at the bleached starfish.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. That's the right, appropriate answer. Oh, God.
So anyway, that's your Genestealer Cults preview. Hope you liked it, and don't care if you didn't. I'm just kidding. I did. You can give me feedback on the Beerhammer Associates Facebook page, because it's fancy.
It is pretty fancy.
Use your real name.
It says associates.
Yeah, use your real name, post your address, so I can come to your house and beat you.
And stand at the bottom of their bed.
He literally does this thing like Jay and Silent Bob style, where he prints off the lists and like goes randomly to each person's house.
I do wear lipstick when I do that.
But not on his lips.
It kind of gets smeared. I'm just kidding. I put it on that way. That's how Mama taught me. Anyway.
Oh man, gosh.
Yeah.
That's the right flavor.
So, Free Folk, what you know about them,
Well,
Paul?
bobbleheads. He's got pictures of bobbleheads, but they're Warhammer stuff.
There's Warhammer Funko Pop bobbleheads.
Yeah.
I think we mentioned it a little bit before.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, but they hadn't really revealed the full lineup. So
Yeah, we were talking about how there was a Dark Angel one and a Space Wolf one and an Ultramarine one.
well, now they've actually like shown exactly what they look like. So maybe they did. I don't know. I didn't see them, but at any rate, they're looking dynamite. The Funko Pop 40K models are great. I really like the Ultramarine.
The little chibi-headed Ultramarine dude.
Yeah, he looks cool, and so does
a perfect proxy for Gilliman.
This is the Death Angel, right?
That's a Blood Angel.
A Blood Angel. I'm sorry. Yeah. Space Wolf looks pretty cool too.
Death Angel was a really awesome 80s thrash band.
Tasty.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We're going to call that guy Captain Beard.
Captain Beardo.
The beard, however, is spelled Bjeard,
Well, yeah, it's true.
and it's still pronounced beard.
And the Dark Angel guy looks cool because he's got a little scar on him. So, you can see he's definitely been through some shit. Even though
He's got a troubled past.
Yeah, because he's a heretic.
It's true. He's both a heretic and a loyalist.
Nope, heretic.
He's got a white robe on. That means he's totally a good guy.
Nope, heretic.
I like his stabby little knife. His tiny
He
little.
does look like a heretic. He straight up looks like a wannabe heretic. Chaos infused.
If I get that Funko Pop, I'm going to have it on my station, and then whenever
paint
Cody
heresy
pisses
all
me
over it.
No, whenever Cody pisses me off, I'm going to scream heretic and throw it at him.
Make sure you sharpen the blade really well.
Yeah,
So
good plan.
it impales him. But yeah, I think that's a great first lineup, and obviously, I mean, Funko Pop, they're super popular, and they like to flood the market with all their all the lines that they do. So I'm sure this is just the beginning.
Oh God.
Most likely.
You were asking questions about other things?
Yeah, Song of Ice and Fire. That's miniature wargaming. That's what we like to talk about.
Curse Smash. Gosh, that game is so I've actually got to play quite a few matches recently, actually, about against the Night's Watch, and those guys, they will not die.
They are pretty unstoppable.
Well, they hit fairly hard,
Yes.
but man, that freaking like bringing back. I think I played a game the other day, and dude went from like 2 or 3 of the vets in the squad. Now, granted, that squad was accompanied by good old Jon Snow, so it had the Jon Snow power activate. But literally, he went from like 2 or 3 dudes left to full squad in like
who was his
moments.
Politician?
I don't know. It's the Captain Healy Pants, Eamon. Maester Eamon.
I knew it was going to be Eamon.
Captain. It's always Captain Healy Pants.
Yeah.
It's like the go-to guy, basically.
Yeah, Master Eamon's awesome.
So it's a really solid army.
It is.
I actually today I was looking through all the pre-order stuff, so I don't know what all's on there, but man, there is an entire lineup coming out. Want to see and get a list for the next Beer Hammer if we can.
Yep. That'd
some
be awesome.
really cool units that I had no idea what some of those were. So.
Have you played against or with the Free Folk yet?
So basic Free Folk homies, like basic infantry, pretty much crumple under any kind of real pressure. Of course, giants are terror bad. You can either charge them or shoot them a lot, or just try to feed them free units. Like, I don't really need this basic infantry unit. Here you go. These guys have a commissar. You may eat them. This will take you 3 turns to chew through. Right. So that is so far my experience with Free Folk, is pretty much, feed the giant and just murder the piss out of the infantry and then just tag team the giants. So, I've only played once and seen them played once other than that so far, though. So,
yeah, some of the stuff I've heard and read is basically they are your quintessential horde army.
Yeah, it looks really good as
you want
army.
Lots of those low points value infantry in there to mob up. And basically what they do is they get bonuses if they're attacking from multiple flanks. Like if you have the right flank and center, or rear, front, and left flank, then you get a shit ton of bonuses. And then their basic infantry turns really nasty, really fast.
Yeah,
doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And they do have some of the more elite infantry. I think is supposed to be the Spearwives. I don't know how they play or how they work yet, but they're supposed to be really good too. And of course, giants. Because fuck yeah.
The guy who's probably beating the most A with that around the store lately, he actually picked up 2 of the starter boxes.
Nice.
Literally just to get a bulk of infantry to be ready to smash face. So
Is there a politician Mance Raider? I would assume so.
Or
Tormund.
It comes with Tormund Giantsbane, Mance Raider. What's his name? The dude who has all his daughters as wives. I can't remember his name. Craster. Those are the 3 main HQ units that I can remember from looking at the back of the box. And most of your commander units, some of those can do double duty as politician and whatnot, I think.
In a lot of, especially in a lot of, so it's like the, in a lot of the armies, you are starting to see even more and more of that, where they are giving things can be commanders, unit attachments, and then a few of them can be politicians. So
So Mance Raider can probably be I imagine he might be somewhat a politico, or he can be your commander.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what because I think it has 4 of the units.
I believe it has
named
4 characters specifically. I think they both have 4
I just can't remember the
characters
4th one.
Do they have any of the what are they called? I'm trying to remember the cannibals, the Thel. Because they are technically part of the Free Folk.
Right. They are. I don't remember seeing them on the back of the box of the starter army.
Gotcha.
So they very well may be a unit that is released later on down the road.
Huh.
Because, they are doing an exceptional job of getting everything released, things released, and putting in a whole lot of everything you see in the books and whatnot. Even more so because, like I said, the Lannisters with their green fire flinging shit wizards, Like, you don't really hear about them in the book. I mean, you hear a little bit about the pyromancers and stuff, but they don't actually do anything. They're never on the battlefield.
Yeah.
He never talks about them.
Really. The only time you ever even their only real instance is, we burned the bay and murdered the shit out of a bunch of people.
Right. We've been making this alchemist fire for
hundreds
forever.
of years.
Yeah. And so the entire city is, Warrens under the city is just filled with this stuff. And that's the only time you really hear about them in the books and in the show and whatnot. But in the game, they actually have a unit of them. And they can fling fire at stuff.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I need to retract my Game of Thrones card here, because even though I've seen the entire series all the way through like 7 or 8 times, plus all the individual episodes a million times, and read through the books, I got the name wrong. It is Thens. Thens are the cannibal tribe of the free folk. So sorry guys. Won't happen again. Promise.
Bonus point failure.
Nerd card revoked. You're fucked. Go back to playing Scrabble, bitch.
I don't get to watch the episode 8 when it first premieres. I have to wait a whole week.
So much sadness.
It's my penance.
Shame.
I
have what?
I was going to say you were right. Their release schedule and their
it's perfect.
Sticking to it has just been. I run a game store, and they have just done out.
Wait, Paul, you have a game store?
Wait.
Well, surprise. That's what I actually do. I know you guys thought I was just a sparkle pants clown, but that's just what I like to do for hobby. That's not actually what I do for a living.
And he's a damn sexy one.
When we put out the Craigslist ad, it did say we're looking for a sparkle pants clown. So I mean,
it was the position. So
that was actually how I met Paul.
I didn't realize though that it was for a slip and slide contest. So
subterfuge.
It was.
Deception.
Things happened.
And he was a little hesitant about the slip and slide contest until I told him it wasn't going to be with water. It was with mayonnaise. And then he was down.
It was totally. I mean, come on. Mayonnaise, guys. Like, think of how many jars Eric literally took his time to put mayonnaise on a slip and slide.
Except it wasn't all mayonnaise.
You have to make some sacrifices, okay?
I mean, you can buy the big, 10-gallon jugs of mayonnaise at Sam's Club. And that's what happened.
Or
Sticking to that story.
Or you can milk a bull.
That's
it's not a stick and stay. It's a slip and slide.
I don't want to attempt that ever for many reasons.
We apologize for the
Number one, if that bull decides I'm doing something wrong, I'm pretty sure I'm dead.
It's a whole new kind of game. Roll an invuln save.
Right? Anyway. Yeah, so I have not been playing a whole lot of Song of Ice and Fire, and I haven't really played any 40K because I've been saving up my 40K-ness for the Hobby League.
Yeah.
Which my first 500 points of Eldar are almost done.
Oh, victim time.
Yep. Good old Eldar.
Which faction are you planning on playing of Eldar?
I'm doing Craft Worlds. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be doing... whatever craft world it is that has the shuriken weapon bonus.
Excellent.
Rerolls ones on shuriken weapons.
I remember the name of those?
I can't remember the name either.
They're fancy. Who cares?
I'm a jackass. I think it's Bealtan.
Oh, Bealtan. They used to be, back in the day, they were the bee's knees, man.
Yeah, and they reroll the shuriken weapons. So I'll be rerolling ones on pretty much everything. And then, of course, I'm also using the Specialist Vigilist detachment, which is the Wraith Host.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So... because most of the stuff in the army is Wraith Guard, Wraith Knights, Wraith Lords, all the Wraith everything. I'm not entirely sure on the full 2,000 point list, but it may end up. I'm
sure things will change before we get to there.
Right. I'm debating which big Wraith thing to put in there.
All of them.
I can't afford all of them with everything else I want to do. But the Wraith Fighter, that may be in there. Yeah. If he's not in there, then I'll have the Wraith Knight. And then it'll have like 2 or 3 Wraith Lords and like 20 Wraith Guard.
So the Wraith Plane?
Yeah.
And a Wraith Knight.
No. One or the other.
Why one or the other?
Because I'm going to have 20 Wraith Guard.
I'm still failing to see why
in the list. Because you run out of points.
Stop using so many Wraith Guard.
Why?
Because Wraith Knight.
20 Wraith Guard.
Wraith Plane. Are you planning on running them as 4 different units? Because you can only have 3 units.
No, it's
Because that is a big thing. You can only have 3 of anything that's not a troop choice.
That is correct. No, it is 2 units, and I think they're 10 apiece.
Big ass units of Wraith. Oh, that's gonna beat wholesale scum.
2 10-man units. There'll be 10 with D size and 10 with Wraith cannons.
It's so satisfying just to say D size. What are you using? D size.
Because
prepare to suffer the D.
That's all I use.
Because basically 8 inches away, I'm going to kill the fuck out of everything you got.
Literally everything. If they don't shoot it, it just fucking died.
Yeah. And there's 10 of those guys. And then if those guys can't do it, then there's 10 with Wraith cannons that will kill most of everything that you got. There's also going to be the Spirit Seers in there that give them all their bonuses in the Wraith Host detachment. And then, of course, the Farseer. And then because I want to do the battalion to actually have the command points, which I don't know, I may take that out and go almost command point less because then I could get the Wraith Knight and all that in there. But I'll have to use them a little bit on the lower points levels because it was going to be the 20 Wraith Guard with 20 Guardians, 10 Dire Avengers, and Farseer and Spirit Hosts or Spirit Seer. I think 2 Spirit Seers and a Farseer, and then 20 Wraith Guard, and then either Wraith Knight or Crimson Wraith Fighter or whatever it's called.
I don't think you got to worry too much about it because, I mean, being the Hobby League and the Grow an Army League, you don't need to necessarily beat wholesale scum butt on them, right? But you definitely want some command points because as a more experienced player, there's going to be a lot of new players, and it'll be important for us to show them how command points ruin their lives and how they need them.
I think there's going to be plenty of other people that will be using command points
that will ruin their lives.
What I may do is I may actually go less command points to show the newbies that these things are fun and they're good and they're a tool, but you don't actually need them.
You can use other tools as well. You can
use other tools because my one towel list I was working out that has the 21 suit salute. It has like 2 command
21
points.
Suit salute.
but it literally has 21 battle suits in it.
I mean, fantastic.
Yes.
Actually, had a kid today. Unfortunately, he picked up the Vigilus book, very much excite, but he picked it up specifically because he thought the Tau 8 rules were in it. And we're like, nope, wrong book.
Nope, too late for a return.
No, we let him get, we took care of it. But he was like, he was so sad because he opened it and he started going through it and he was like, oh boy, here comes Farsight. Papa Farsight's going to be so much. Was it not in this book? Sorry, Bramigo, that was the last book.
Yeah, that was not
the chapter approved for the year, right?
Chapter approved.
Yeah. So got him all set up, and he's getting ready to set up the 8. I don't know if he's going to join us for the Hobby League or if he just wants to fanboy on the 8 and beat wholesale scum.
Tell him if he doesn't make an 8 list for the Hobby League, he's a bitch. And
well, that's the perfect place to use it because in the Hobby League, you're not. The 8 is cool and fun, but they're obviously not going to be.
They're not competitive unless you are just a really good Warhammer player.
So that's a fantastic place to play them. So,
but I think they'll be fun. I mean, I've looked over the rules, the weapons, and their setup, and honestly, I'm relatively confident that in something like that, I could probably be in the mid tables.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think you'd ever get in the top, but I was really stoked because LVO, one of the top 8, was a Tau player.
Yeah,
yes!
There was like one top 8 Tau, and then everybody and their brother were playing the Knightlets. Yeah,
the Knigget.
And then of course, but it's really just Castellan plus homies.
Yeah.
That's what you see for days.
It's the Castellan plus homies, and then Eldar.
Yeah,
Ynnari,
Eldar.
Ynnari, Eldar, or Deldar, and then you got the one guy playing Tau who's like, I was like, go guy.
You know what? I got this face.
Go you. That's awesome.
I mean, I think, so that's one thing that's cool about with Warhammer nowadays. There is a meta if you play in the tournament style.
Right.
And one of the things in meta is part of playing in that is paying attention to what that current meta is and building stuff specifically to counter the meta. It's a big old... it happens in Magic. It happens in all kinds of different games. If there's actually a tournament scene, there starts developing a meta. And I was reading an article that was talking about that and I think I read it on Bell of Lost Souls or one of the websites.
Yeah.
They posted an article, and it was talking about that Warhammer is working pretty much exactly as they want it, according to LVO. You were seeing, granted, everything was soup, but they were talking about you weren't seeing like ridiculous spam of different units. You were seeing mixtures across a lot of stuff.
Right.
You were seeing, so there was a lot of really valid points in there that like, okay, well, the soup is a little out of control, but it is factoring a lot of crazy different factors into Warhammer.
Right. Several of the other podcasts I listen to, they go in depth. They'll talk about the it's like warhammerstats.com or 40kstats.com. I can't remember the name of the website. Mm-hmm. But they'll go in depth, and they've these guys are breaking down all the lists in the different tournaments and telling you what percentage of main detachments are Castellan, and Imperial Knight, and which percentage are just Astra Militarum, which ones are Blood Angels, and they break everything down, even by percentage. And so it's hilarious because they'll be like, and the Tower, 6% of the meta right now, which is actually a good showing. And I'm like,
good show.
Surprised.
A good show, boy. Good show.
And they're going through all these percentages, and like everything is, for the most part, 20% less or whatever, which shows that if that's a decent number of what's showing up in these tournaments, then, and it's only 20%, then that means that other 80% is all other shit. And if everything else is lower percentage, there's a lot of other shit.
A lot of little things.
Because there's a lot of pie slices when you're talking about, this much is this much and that much is that much. But moving on. Since we have discussed many things.
A little big road.
Yep. I think we might take a little break and then come back. And like I said, this may be a little shorter podcast. I think we're going to do some Malifaux 3rd edition coverage and kind of ixnay some of the hobby talk. I'll probably have Joe talk a little bit about his experience with building Malifaux models.
Yay!
And since he's a new guy, and I like to have the new guys that are getting into the hobby tell you what their experiences are so you can see things from their perspective. And then and we'll talk some about 3rd edition Malifaux, and then we'll probably call it a wraps for this episode. Anyway, so we're going to take a break. You guys suck. I'm going to go fill my lungs with nicotine. Ladies and gents, friends and neighbors, we're back from our stupid little timeless break that you didn't even know happened, other than the fact we told you.
Time warp. Eric, giving the secrets away.
I know. Secrets. Moving on, we're going to get into some Malifaux 3rd edition talk.
Fancy.
Because it's what we've been playing. Every Thursday night, I have the guys over. Joe happens to be one of them that comes consistently.
Oh, yeah.
And, my buddy Jeremy, who's been on the podcast, I believe, last episode, he shows up. And Adam also has been entertaining us with his presence, along with a couple other people in and out. But we've been working on the Malifaux 3rd edition open beta rules. One of the things I find really interesting about this is that they have opened up their forums, and you can go and download the rules and all the unit cards, all for free, and play the open beta, and then give your battle reports and your opinions of what you think is good and what you think isn't. I recently wrote a post that basically said, hey, we love the models. I love the overall rule set, and the overall rule book is really good. As somebody who had never played Malifaux before, the current version of the rule book, which is, of course, open beta, does leave a little bit of explanation, especially if you're coming from other war games like Games Workshop. It took me a few minutes to wrap my head around summoning. Summoning in the game, you can literally just be like, oh, this guy's going to summon this unit in. And as long as you pass your test, you bring it in. It doesn't have to be something that you spent points, or as they call it, soul stones, in your crew to add to your crew. And then you can summon him in later and not deploy him normally. No. You can just summon whatever the hell you want in, as long as you can pass the test. Which is kind of a neat mechanic. It can lopside things depending on how good of a summoner you are and how often you do that, but it's good stuff. There's a few other things that took us a few minutes to kind of figure out and whatnot and wrap our head around because of the way the rule book is written. But overall, it has been an incredibly positive experience. We've been working and playing games, and most of them have gone to turn 2, maybe turn 3. just because we've been trying to figure out the strategies and schemes, which is one of the things that's very unique to Malifaux, in that a lot of times you're playing not just a game of kill something and hold an objective, you're also trying to do these other goals. Like some of them are, you have to move up to some of the terrain in the other guy's side of the board and place what they call scheme markers, which basically you take an action from your model to interact, and it places a scheme marker. You have to place these scheme markers next to the terrain to say you've done something with it. And at that point, you get a victory point. And you can score 2 victory points per scheme, and you pick 2 at the beginning of the game. And that's been our biggest hurdle, is kind of getting some of that stuff done to try and figure out who's winning, who's not. And most of the time, we just end up kind of trying to kill each other's models and run the test, because it uses a card deck and not dice, which is a very different mechanic, and it allows for a lot of cool kind of randomness with it.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things about the deck versus dice, I mean, having played so many dice-based games and RPGs in the past, the deck is such a neat mechanic just because it gives you more options. I mean, having that hand, to be able to cheat fate, which essentially means, okay, you flip a card, for your turn, whether it's like, let's say it's your action, or let's say it's your damage, and you decide to cheat fate. You can pull something from your hand. And so it adds an extra ability to really enhance your game. But, there's some strategy there, because, you can blow through that. And I've done this. You can blow through that, cheat fate deck, with your hand really quickly, especially in the beginning. It's not necessarily the best thing to do is to, destroy any, extra buffs and chances that you have to take out the enemy in the beginning. So.
Right. There's a whole strategy to what you want to cheat and what you don't, what you want to take and what you don't want to take. And sometimes you want to fail things, because if you fail it, it's not going to be that bad on you, but then if it's really good, you want to try, if your opponent does something really good, you want to try and cheat fate to mitigate that down, or to just completely block them from being able to do it.
And knowing your enemy is a huge part of this game. And I think that's one of the things I really like about it, because, if you're looking at the other, if your opponent's crew and you see, okay, well, they've got one of their minions, and I know he's not really a big deal. And so he's taking on one of my minions. Well, I'm not as concerned about that, but if the henchman comes in, or the leader, I want to do as much damage as possible. So.
Right. And if you are trying to do something that's going to let you get schemes or the strategy, which there's 4 overall strategies, and you can score victory points every turn after turn 1 on those strategies. And depending on what you're trying to do in the strategy depends on, how it is. And as the game gets further on in turns, it gets progressively harder to score those victory points. So you can technically table your opponent, but if he's dropped his scheme markers, revealed his schemes, he's gotten his VPs from that, and you've been ignoring it, he's going to win.
Yep, exactly. And I mean, we're at the point right now where we're really trying to implement the strategies and the schemes. But I mean, each crew member, each model has so many different capabilities, all of their native abilities, all of their attacks, all of their, kind of more, I think they're called their tactical actions. There's so many things they can do. And so you're so busy, trying to control the field and attack the other player and hold your ground. It's a lot to take in, to keep in mind also your strategies and your schemes. But I think, I have a feeling the best Malifaux players are the ones that can kind of multitask. Not only are they controlling the board and they're keeping up with the strategy of what's going on between both armies, both crews, but they're also keeping in mind at all times, how am I going to implement this scheme? How am I going to implement this strategy? So,
yeah, I've asked a bit around on the forums, and from our play experiences and what I've described of them, a lot of it just boils down to we don't know our crews well enough, and that's what's slowing us down the most, which I can totally do because, there's been so many times I've been like, oh, crap, I had that synergy ability that I didn't do and that one, and I had that one, and I had that one, and I should have done that, and I should have done this, and I should have done that, just because I haven't played. I've been playing like every crew I can get my hands on pretty much just to see what I might like, what I won't like. And I've kind of boiled it down to, okay, I'm going to pick this crew and I'm going to just play with this one crew until I really learn them good with the rules.
Yeah. And that really speaks to the depth of this game, because one of the cool things about it is, Eric and I have both done that. We've played, 4 or 5 sessions now, 4 or 5 different game nights where we played Malifaux at least. And I know there's been at least once or twice that I've been like, oh, damn, like towards the end of the game, I could have done this. Like you start to put it together. And as a matter of fact, the last game we played, and I'm not going to gloat, but hey, I'll take a win when I get it. I won against Eric. I won in the sense that like, if we had continued, there's not really much of a chance he had of winning, but it was because when Eric got towards the end of the game, he realized that he had some extra buffs as far as the movement set that would have made his crew far more mobile than it really was, and the crew I was playing was absolute melee beasts. And so when we were getting into melee combat, I'm just taking him out left and right. But what he realized about 3/4 of the game through, he could have moved him, a far more than he did. And as a matter of fact, if he had, he would have dominated me.
Right. And I wasn't relying a lot on their ranged attacks, which I should have, and that's the way it goes. And we've been learning this game and trying to figure things out and kind of going at it from the ground up. And it's been cool. I personally, I love the models. I love the aesthetic of the game. The background lore of the game. Even if you don't actually want to get into it, it is worth a read because it is really good.
Yeah, we've played the RPG that they have.
Yeah, the Through the Breach.
It's outstandingly good.
Really?
Like they're just because of the fluff in the lore. It's definitely one of those that lives on its lore and on its fluff. But the game seems very in depth. I haven't actually had an opportunity to see. You guys are going to have to show it to me at some point in time. But definitely the dynamic models are gorgeous.
Oh, just
gorgeous. And I'm jealous over what was it? The beer keg golem.
Yeah.
The whiskey golem. And I'm like, what? I need a whiskey golem. I don't care what I do with it. I need that in my life just so I can put it in one of my D&D games and be like, and suddenly the whiskey barrel gets up and murders your face.
So here's one question.
Super mimic die, scum.
One question about the RPG is, do they still use the card mechanic or is it dice based?
When we were playing, it was a really, really old, the dude was actually using the old Savage Lands rule set.
Oh, okay.
But he was using all of the lore and fluff from the game. So unfortunately, I can't speak to you as the mechanic.
Gotcha.
Now, Savage Lands does actually have it's like D6 and then there's like Deadlands card stuff and blah 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 blah.
The actual Through the Breach RPG, as I understand it, does use the Fate deck. In fact, actually, everything Weird puts out uses that Fate deck mechanic.
That's crazy.
That's because they do several other games, and that's why like the Evil Baby Orphanage deck that Jeremy got from me, it actually has the regular suits of the cards and whatnot, because they basically say you can use a regular deck of cards.
So is it like it's like old like Deadlands? Is it similar to Deadlands? Did you ever play that?
No, I never played
Never got
Deadlands.
to play that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, they use a Fate deck. So that's a Western. That's like a weird West RPG. It's been around forever and ever. And they had a mini game as well. And you literally used a deck of cards to resolve your actions and stuff, at least in the one I played. So
yeah, that's basically how the Fate deck works, is that you have this deck of cards, and of course they have 4 suits, masks, crows, tomes, and rams. And each of the 4 suits, has its cards 1 through 14, and then you have the black and red jokers. Mm-hmm. And so when you play with a regular deck of cards, spades, clubs,
They just coincide with
they coincide with the other suits of the stuff, and they give you the key to decipher what it's going to be. And of course, you have your ace through 10, which is your 1 through 10, and then your jack is 11, your queen is 12, your king is 13. Sorry, it's I meant to say 1 through 13. And then
there are 2 joker cards.
Yeah, then the 2 jokers, and you have a black joker and a red joker. And the black joker is ultimately bad. Nothing good happens if you pull the black joker. If you get the red joker, it's ultimately good.
It's basically like the equivalent of like a nat 1 or a nat 20 if you're playing a D-based game. A D20 base game. So
I love the dynamic of mechanics like that though when you play them in games, because it's on the D6s with the mathematical mechanics, you typically get a bit of restriction in comparison to something that's here's a deck of cards that you can manipulate to an extreme degree.
Right.
So that's fantastic.
And that is the cool thing is you do have a hand of cards that you can cheat fate with, so that if you the idea is that, basically if you say, okay, I'm going to attack you, your attack has a, stat value. In 3rd edition, it's called a stat. In 2nd edition, it was, either a casting value if it was a spell, or you just have a, it shows like a little pistol, and that's a ranged attack. And then whatever numbers after the pistol is, whatever you add to the card that you flip. And so you flip this off the top of your deck, and you say, okay, I got a 10. My stat is a 5. So I got a 15 plus whatever suit is showing on the card you flipped. And then if you have a bonus, it says, oh, you get a bonus plus to your attack flip, you would actually flip 2 cards and take the highest. Or you can choose which one you want depending on how you want to do it. But most people are going to take the highest, obviously. And then if you have a minus, it works the opposite way. For every minus, you flip 1 card for the flip, and then 1 card for each minus you have, up to 4 cards total. And then you take the lowest.
So it's like advantage, disadvantage, basically.
Right. So it gives you an advantage and disadvantage. And then that, then you can cheat fate. Now, if you have a minus on the flip, you cannot cheat fate. So if you have that disadvantage, you are disadvantaged. And the opponent can cheat fate. So if I flipped, say I had a bonus and I flipped a 1 and a 5, and, it still wasn't giving me a good number. And then Joe had a couple minus flips to it, but he still got his 4 was his lowest card. Then I'm not necessarily beating him by a whole lot.
Yep. And as a matter of fact, in that particular scenario, I've actually had a situation where without a doubt, based off the flip and what I had in my fate deck, I was definitely going to have a lower card than Eric, and I still cheated fate and bumped up.
Well, you can't cheat fate if you have a minus.
No, I'm saying that even when I cheated fate, I was going to come a little bit.
Right.
I was going to come within a damage pool, right? But I could reduce the damage by cheating fate. So even though it wasn't, even though it wasn't going to give you a bonus, or even though I was going to take a hit, I was still able to reduce the amount of damage I was going to take.
Right. And what Joe's saying, he's getting a little ahead of where we're going. But basically what it is once you flip, you do your flips to see if you hit and if the person defends against it. And then, they do their defense flip. You're adding the stat of your attack, plus whatever bonuses you have, all that kind of stuff. And then they flip, they add their defense stat from their, model's card. And then, whoever's number is higher. Well, if you're beating if you're tied, then you go to a damage flip. And the damage flip, every single weapon in the game has 3 damage numbers, like 2, 3, 5, or 3, 4, 6. And when you go to the damage flip, you're flipping to see which one you use.
Yep.
And so if we're tied, I get a double negative to my damage flip. So I'll flip 3 cards and take the lowest. And if you're 1 through 5, it is the weak damage. So it'll be that first number. If you're 6 through 10, you're taking the moderate. You're taking the middle number. If you're 11 or higher, you take the top number. If you flip the red Joker on a damage flip, you do the severe, which is the highest number, +1. And the old Malifaux, second edition, you would actually take severe plus weak. So if you had like a 3, 4, 6, you would do 9 points of damage on a red Joker.
That's just absolutely nasty.
So essentially, the more solid of a hit you land,
right,
is reflecting the more damage you're going to do.
And you get that, they call it an accuracy fate modifier. So if Joe and I were tied, I'd flip 3 cards, take the lowest. So more than likely, I'm going to get weak damage. Not always, but more than likely. If I am beating him by only up to 5 points, then I'm going to have just a 1 negative. If I'm beating him by 6 to 10 points, I'm going to have no negatives. And if I'm beating him by 11 or more, I'm going to have a bonus to my damage flip.
So 5, 5, 5.
Yeah.
5, 5, 5. Move up a category for every 5.
Yeah. But I mean, one of the things that's really like resonated with me about Malifaux, at least, third edition, is that, it is balanced, and a lot of games, it sometimes feels like, okay, well, if I'm getting great rolls and I've got a superior army, that other person is going to just be absolutely just, on the ropes. And I think one of the great things about this game is that, even if your crew may seem much more OP than the other one, or have so many, extra move sets and extra damage buffs that, really enhance them, the Fate deck is the ultimate kind of equalizer. There's so much more you can do with it. I mean, it gives you so many options that, like, hey, okay, my flip wasn't great and maybe my crew isn't great, but I still have options. I still have the ability to pull things out. I mean, honestly, our last match, I really thought I was toast. And, into the second round, I mean, I was able to pull it out. So
cool. Well, I mean, there's also the thing of you have different crews that do different things. Like there are crews like Joe was talking about, that are just melee, get in there, wallop the crap out of everything. You're more or less going to be achieving your strategies and schemes by beating the piss out of the other guy's models. Whereas, and then you have other crews like the Arcanists have Colette Dubois. And she's like this, she runs this, kind of cabaret theater type thing. So she's got all these showgirls and, they have these dress mannequins with scissor hands that come after you. And
mimes.
And mimes. And her crew is all about literally just kind of running the schemes, keeping the other guy away from you. And you're just trying to get those VP, and you're not real strong combat wise. You can hold your own, but it's all about doing tricks. And so she does a thing where, like, if she attacks you, right after she attacks you, she basically buries. And then when she activates again, she can unbury. And when she does that, she pops up, and she can pop up within, if you have ski markers around, you can pop up within ski markers within a certain range of her. So you can just run up, attack the shit out of somebody, disappear, and then you pop up somewhere else. She's got another ability that literally lets her swap model placement, because you basically target a model, you pass your test. If you pass your test, that model, you place a ski marker where that model's base is, or, in base contact. And then you take that model off the board and you place it wherever you want, or, wherever the other friendly model is. And then you take the friendly model and place it where the ski marker is. So you just, and it's called Presto Changeo. And it's literally like
Presto Changeo.
Yeah, hey.
Me, I'm leaving you behind.
I wish it was called Mecha Like a High, Mecha Honey Ho.
No. But and so she does a lot of tricksy stuff like that. But then also her crew, she gets like a billion models because they're all super cheap. So you have all these models everywhere that somebody just not sure what to do with, and
surprise.
Right. And so it's a very interesting crew, but there's so many synergies and things like that, and things that move with other things and do things with other things. that it's next to impossible to figure out. You know, until you really learn that crew, you're not going to be doing a whole lot with it.
Yeah, I really one of the things that kind of enamored me about this game is all the different abilities, and you know, I got the Sonya Crid's crew, and I hope to play them tomorrow night if I can get these models built. But one of the cool things is I was reading over a card, and the tactical actions.
That card's not valid, by the way.
I know, but I looked at the third edition. It's actually the same thing for this particular action.
Oh, so, okay, cool.
So Sonya Crid has this really cool tactical actions. The tactical actions, as their name suggests, are less offensive and more just like control of the battlefield or control of your crew member. So the Inferno is really neat. The model gains the following condition until the end of the turn. So they can create an Inferno. And the neat thing is Flaming Demise. When this condition ends, all models within 3 inches suffer 3 damage. This is the cool thing. This is what really turns me on about this game. If this model is killed, so if Sonya is killed, all models within 3 inches suffer 6 damage instead. So basically you take her out, all the models that are within 3 inches of her are going to suffer 6 damage which if you're talking about, just the minions, that's going to wipe out most of the minions. So you want to get her like right there in the thick of the melee and just let her just basically, go Super Saiyan and, blow up.
Yeah, we also hate exploding vehicles in Warhammer too, especially Hellhounds.
Yep.
Oh God.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's like there's an Archivist Sandeep, and he's got a lot of the masters have totems that you get for free when you buy the crew, and of course the masters don't cost anything either. So it's a little weird list building, going from the Warhammer 40K or Dust, or
you're building a little team, not
right. And so here you are hiring a crew, but your master who's hiring the crew doesn't cost you anything.
It's the boss,
right? Because he's the boss. But Sandeep has a totem named Banasuva, and one of the cool things Banasuva can do is you can basically run him out there, let everybody get within melee range of him, and start beating on him, and then before he dies, you can pop him and cause an explosion that does damage to everything around him. And, it has all those neat little nuances and little things to it that have just really gotten us into the game, just because of that. Plus it's, played on a 3x3 battlefield. The, terrain, they have some interesting terrain rules, and the way they do line of sight is a bit different than a lot of other games, but I'm not going to get into that right now. You can go to the forums and download the rule book and read it.
And give yourself your own headache.
For free.
So what needs to happen here is I need to see your shiny loot type models so I can see if I want some, to see if I need to play this game.
Of course you do.
That sounds pretty much the only likely solution. And unique abilities go really well in skirmish scale games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to keep, in a skirmish scale game, you don't have hundreds of bazillions of dudes all dying horribly. So you got to have something to keep the action really involved, really in depth. Just as long as they don't bog the game down, I'm all about it.
Right. And that's one of the things too is, because we've been getting into, like I said, working on the strategies and the schemes, and some of the language can be refined a bit in how they describe what you're supposed to do and what you're not. Because there have been a few times we've been like, wait, what? We're supposed to...
But again, beta rules, right? Right. It's like, so they're literally having people test that for them right now.
Right. And there's a lot of feedback on those forums. And if you read through, you'll see a lot of it where people are saying, hey, describe this way, describe that way. And the guys who are, the designers and stuff, they're on those forums and they're answering people back and they're saying, yeah, you're right. I think we should. And then you're seeing the changes come up. And that's probably one of the coolest things is that sucked me into the whole open beta thing is, Games Workshop has started putting out beta rules that are being tested in tournaments and doing things like that. But to me, that's a far off process. I'm not a part of it.
Yeah.
Because, I can email them and put in my 2 cents worth. So I know that they do listen, but it's a far away thing. So if I sit down with the beta Bolter rules and me and Joe play a game and we go, wow, these rules kind of, they kind of made it not fun. I can give GW my feedback through an email whoop-de-doo. Whereas in the open beta, I've sat there and said, okay, guys, this are things that we are struggling with as people who have never played Malifaux before or getting into it. And I've had people going, hey, look at it this way. Check this out. Check that out. And I've had to develop, several of the moderators go, awesome. We're really glad to see your perspective on this because most of the people on here that are in this open beta have played Malifaux before.
Yeah, they're people who are already.
Right.
Yeah, so they're very excited when they have newer people.
Right. And they're like, we know what their issues are and whatnot, and we know what's giving them headaches. But here you are. We now know what's giving you guys headaches from somebody who's just bought our book or just bought our starter set is going to have. Mm-hmm. And so we can adjust things and adapt them accordingly. And so it's been really, really cool watching that process happen, watching them talk about things, and then seeing the changes pop up in the rule books and in the unit cards. And like they started a poll today talking about the conditions. And so as you do things in the game, as you affect other things, you give them conditions like burning or focused or injured or distracted. And these help you manipulate your models and create a thematic thing between your crews. Like the Colette Dubois, her crew, they're all performers. So they throw distracted condition around like nobody's business. And so each of these conditions manipulate the stats of the other model certain ways and do certain things. And they've actually set up a poll saying, hey, guys, we're going to change some of this stuff because we've realized that the injured condition makes things not fun or has the potential to make things very unbalanced and very not fun. We want to change this. What can we do? Here's our proposed changes. What do you guys think of them? And it's really cool to watch all these players throw in their 2 cents worth and it be listened to.
Yeah, I mean, that level of transparency and reactivity and communication from developers. I mean, that's using the internet right. That's using, I mean, seriously, because I mean,
you got +5 internets.
Well, I mean, I liken it to video game developers. Cause I mean, here we are, the internet's been, really functional and usable for most of the mass populace since like 95, mid 90s or early to mid 90s. But I mean, you really haven't seen a lot of companies making, board games and, miniature war game and video gaming really use it to the full potential. But in the last year or two, that's really been prevalent in a lot of these industries. And I love seeing it because, actually having that open dialogue with the fans, especially as you're developing a game or developing a new version of it, that's just going to make not only you more accessible and the end product a better experience for everybody, but it also gets the players immersed in it and say, I've got a voice. This isn't working for me. I have somewhere to voice it and kind of communicate that. And they're actually reacting to it. They're actually saying, okay, you know what? You're right. There's something we can do with this. This gives us, feedback, because at the end of the day, the testers that they have as they're developing it with in-house, they're going to be reticent to be fully, transparent and fully honest about, this isn't really working. They don't want to hurt feelings. They don't want to step on toes. People work hard on this stuff. So it's great to see that. I mean, that's a fantastic thing. And maybe Games Workshop should take a page out of that.
Well, I mean, they basically have. and they, Joe, having just got into a lot of these miniature war games, you weren't around for the many, many years that Games Workshop would release their rule set and their codexes, and they would just say, here you go. This is what you got. And it wasn't balanced, and if people complained about it being unbalanced, they went, cool, war games aren't balanced. And that was their response.
Tough shit, asshole.
Basically. And the former CEO stepped down, a new CEO came up, and then they kind of changed their policy and their strategy. And they've become, they actually have the Warhammer community page. They've actually been interacting with people. They have done things like one of their recent teaser trailer videos for, they're releasing one of the big Chaos bad guys, Abaddon, and nobody's seen his model yet. But in the trailer, they go, oh boy. here's another Primaris lieutenant, because everybody's been joking about them releasing all these Primaris Space Marine lieutenants. And everybody's been joking about, oh, here we go. It's another new release. It's going to be a lieutenant. It's going to be a lieutenant. And here they are going, oh, not just another Primaris lieutenant. And they're showing little parts of the Abaddon model as they're, they're just showing like a claw of it or like just a shoulder pad to tease it.
What cock teases?
Right. But I mean, they've done things like that. They've started becoming so much more involved with the community, and they are getting feedback and they are releasing beta rules. They are getting feedback for them, but they're mostly looking at the match play and the tournament players to give them the feedback. And there's a reason. It's because these guys are playing a mass multitude of these games. They're breaking these games down to the point where they're trying to break the game and break the meta to become super highly competitive at these big giant tournaments.
Why, yes, you rang?
Yes. Right? And they're trying to find every little advantage they can to break the game. And that's why GW is listening to them, because, us guys that play beer and pretzels and buy their models and paint their models, a lot of us are, they're big money makers because we're the ones that are buying shit tons of armies and various different things. But they're paying attention to the people that are playing the game and using these rules constantly.
The difference is in how often do you play. So like you just said, how often have you actually played, Warhammer 40K lately? When's the last time you got a match in?
I've probably played a Warhammer 40K match like 4 months ago, 5 months ago was the last time I played.
We probably dropped most of us that play actively, especially anybody who's like, and I do not consider myself someone who plays a whole lot of tournament stuff because I really don't. But I mean, I play 3 matches minimum a week usually. You know what I mean? So Warhammer takes a long time. But you imagine even that, and most wargamers would be like, wow, okay, I wish I'd had time to play 3 matches a week. Most of these guys who play like tournament play, especially around tournament season when it comes time to go to one of these tournaments, man, they're putting in 20 and 30 matches in a month.
Oh yeah, they're playing almost every day.
Yeah, it gets in depth. Like when we get ready to go to like ATC or stuff, we play out the wazoo.
Right, and by all means, Games Workshop, listen to those guys because they are playing. They are using your rules.
Well, that's where you see what's broke, what's not broke, what actually is involved,
and it's because they are trying to break it. Us casual players, we're not trying to break things. We're trying to just have fun and be silly.
I just want to roll dice and blow stuff up.
And I mean, I've got several friends that are casual 40K players that they're like, oh, I haven't played in 3 years.
Yep.
I just collect the models and paint them right now. I haven't played in forever.
They're just as fun to hang out with and throw down with. That's the key. That's the beautiful part about it. I love hobby gaming because if nothing else, you can just sit around and, I don't know, drink beer and talk on a podcast and bull jive and have a great time.
Right. And you can play the game and not give a shit. Yep. And so, Games Workshop is doing it right. Plus, Games Workshop has a humongous audience for their game internationally.
Oh yeah, that's a big difference. The scale of difference when you talk about going through the information, it's fantastic. So not to knock, but it's super fantastic that Malifaux is reacting to you guys and talking and getting in depth. I could not imagine they would have to keep hundreds of dudes on staff constantly just to answer so much hate email, right?
Right.
Full on social media crew. Yeah.
Right.
That's all they do.
And Games Workshop has the full on social media crew. Word miniatures or weird miniatures. I don't think they do. They have guys who are doing that and several other things and development and whatnot because they're a smaller company.
And thankfully, as far as it looks, they're both kicking ass.
Yeah, they are. And I mean, Weird has come out with, the other side, which is their actual miniature battle game, which once I get a chance to play that, we'll be talking about it as well. They've got their Through the Breach RPG.
Interesting. But of course, I'm a big strategy gamer. I want the Murder King things. I don't actually like a lot of A Million Little Abilities because I don't maneuver so good.
Right. That's why I'm really waiting for them to come out with the, when the M3E, the 3rd edition, actually fully drops and they have the unit cards. That's going to be the best thing because then it's really going to be printed out.
That's a game changer.
Because they're changing things every week. I've been printing these things out on a piece of paper, putting them in a 3-prong little notebook that you had in, middle school to do your reports in. And so we're flipping page by page to try and read these cards and figure everything out. And and it's a little more cumbersome than having the cards sitting in your hand.
That's like you were saying, though. Right. I mean, as you learn crews, as you learn abilities, as you get stuff down pat, the game speeds up. And that's the same for any of these games. We very constantly, a GW game, it's you can tell people all day, oh, well, this is a 2 to 3 hour round. So that's how long a game takes. No, your first game is 6 hours. Let me teach you.
Right.
Let me show you. Yeah, your first full-on game is a 6 hour game. Once you've learned it, play 3 or 4 times, it does start becoming that 2 or 3 hours. And that's going to apply to all of these games, except for Dust.
Yeah, Dust.
So that game just possesses the magical power of playing.
Simplicity.
You don't even just enough complexity to be fun, but it's super simplicity. Like, geez.
Yep. I finally showed Rebecca Dust. She enjoyed it.
It's murder hobo in its purest form.
And I love it because you can teach somebody that game, and a regular game is 30, 45 minutes, and you can teach somebody that game, and you might play for an hour and 15 at most.
Something that was fantastic for me is we were doing a little tournament, and so I was able to break out Dust, play that for an hour, get in like 2 matches, and then jump straight into my GW. I could have, with a decent opponent, you could literally have like a lunch and be like, all right, well, let's throw down a couple of those. So that's a quick one. And I love that with the small games. So I'm excited to see if Malifaux plays can turn around that quickly.
Yeah, it's a little bit longer. I think they're more max size crew they suggest, which is about 50 soul stones. They say a game should last about an hour and a half.
That's perfect because that's stop by after work, get in a game, hang out, talk a little bit, go home, and it's not so late that you're tired and worn out.
Exactly.
It fits in the daily schedule.
And if you play a smaller Soulstone game, you're looking at 30 to 60 minutes, depending on how the game goes. So it is. We just have to get to that point, and a lot of that is going to be practice. But with all that being said, Joe, give us some thoughts on putting together your first few Malifaux miniatures.
Sure. Well, the first thing I want to mention, you were talking about the other side, which is the wargaming side of Malifaux. And I was on the forums, I was checking out some of the cool stuff. They've got some really killer models coming up for it. They've got previews of them. You can check them out. The one that's really got my eye is this Horo Matanagi, which is this like...
He's actually a dual faction model. Yeah. He goes with Cult of the Burning Man, and he goes with the Gibbering Hordes or Gibbering Hordes.
So the Burning Man.
It basically looks like if Godzilla had a baby with I don't know, some weird corrupted, fucked up paranormal.
To give you an idea of how cool the lore is, the Cult of the Burning Man, their whole backstory is that the governor of Malifaux basically started practicing magic and learning arcane magic powers and whatnot.
As one does.
Learned about the tyrants, and then decided he was going to try and ascend to become a tyrant.
Nice.
And in so doing this complex, crazy ritual, he was kind of bonded with one of the tyrants, if I remember the story correctly. But he didn't fully ascend. He literally just ignited into magical flaming hell and then shot backwards through time. And from the realm that Malifaux is in, shot to the earth side and just floats above various areas on the earth as this giant burning effigy of arcane hell. And people saw this and started worshiping him. And as the worshipers would get near him, the energy coming off of him would mutate his worshipers, and they would become just raving lunatics, psychos, whatever, or, relatively decent cultists that, just wanted to, kill people. And,
so he's basically like a accidental time traveling, eternally on fire dumbass that people happen to worship as a deity.
Right. Because there's not really a personality left. He just randomly pops up. When he does pop up and he's floating above like a city or something, nice. All of a sudden all these weird breach portals open up that let people into the realm of the other realm that Malifaux is in. because Malifaux is a city.
Yeah.
But they go into this other. They can go into this other realm through these portals, or it warps the area around it and destroys the landscape and does all kinds of fucked up, wreaking havoc kind of shit. But this thing's just floating around the earth, just doing what it will, and it has no true personality or intellect behind it. It's just nuts. But yeah, that's the Cult of the Burning Man. But
Burning Man, what does it mean?
Right, you don't know.
But yeah, as far as the models go, first of all, I got to say, I absolutely adore the Malifaux models. I think they're absolutely fantastic. And I will say this, for those of you who have not played Malifaux, what you see online, what you see even on the side of the box does not do the models themselves justice. I mean, they look fantastic. They are... they've got a lot of little detail. They're dynamic poses. They've got all kinds of cool shit on them. I mean, each model looks absolutely dynamite.
Yeah, wait till you have to glue a finger on a hand.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at. I've got some of the little kits here to put together, and I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do that. But yeah, I haven't done much yet. My experience with putting together models is pretty limited. Eric had me put together my first Space Marine years ago, and it was an abysmal mess when I went home and did it. Got super glue all over my hands. Yes, I was using super glue at the time. And the model had glue all over his, every little place that he was put together. It put a bad taste in my mouth. I wasn't really, ready for it. And so with Malifaux, I've started to put them together. First of all, I used the plastic glue, so that made things much easier. And I got myself a pair of sprue cutters, because I checked Reddit and they said that the best thing to use is some sprue cutters and some plastic glue. I already knew the plastic glue because Eric had told me about it. And I was going to try and get the Citadel plastic glue, but the game shop near me, they only had the super glue version. So I went to Hobby Lobby and I got this tester stuff. It works good. It smells a little funky. Feels like, it's like if you've ever seen that episode of Simpsons, Tastes Like Burning. There's definitely this noxious fume.
You're not supposed to drink it, Joe.
Oh, damn.
Well, fuck.
Son of a bitch.
Guess I'm going to have to see the doctor tomorrow.
Doctor, it's all gummed up. The works are all gummed up.
Remember how you talking about removing my gallbladder the other day? Think we're going to have to do it. I think I glued it to my insides.
My anus is glued shut. Can't shit.
Wow. That was TMI.
Sorry. But yeah, I mean, so far, I mean, the models are small and, detailed and intricate. So, there is a learning curve a little bit there for me. But so far, it hasn't been terribly difficult. I do see the models I'm about to put together. They're a lot more pieces, so it's going to take more time, but yeah, so far it's been pretty straightforward. I'm a little reticent for the next set. I think Sonya Crid herself is in, I think I counted somewhere around like 15 to 20 pieces. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes.
First rule of getting into modeling: never count the pieces. Because if you count the pieces, you'll get intimidated, and that messes with you. Yeah, just start taking that shit off, taking out the mold lines, and flashing your stuff, and then dry fit.
And that's actually one of the things that I did learn, is that, there were no instructions. But the cool thing is, if you Google how to put together Malifaux models, and I don't remember the guy's name. If you literally Google that phrase, how to put together Malifaux models, one of the first hits on Google is this guy who actually goes through every single Malifaux model, and he has a how-to with each one. I watched a couple of them.
Good show, oh boy, good show.
Right? So life hack, just Google it. and he shows you exactly how to put each one together.
Now, is that the what you have over there? Is that the whole crew box, basically?
Yep, this is the Sonya Crid, the Torch and the Blade.
The Torch and the Blade.
Yeah, so she is a guild member.
3 little homies and then 2 real things, basically.
Yep. Three minions, a living flame minion, and a henchman. So
I see you already built the gauntlet or the witchling stalkers.
Yeah.
May I see your sprues for the other ones?
Yeah, absolutely. Have a gander here.
This is it.
There,
this is
Paul.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yep, it is. I can tell you, as an experienced modeler, their models are relatively fiddly, and it gets you some skill. So if you can put those together, you can put anything together. With that being said, we are probably going to go ahead and wrap up this here episode of the Beer Hammer podcast. This will be episode 16. And as always, guys, I want y'all to go on to the Facebook, Beer Hammer Associates. We have a group. Join the group. I don't care where you are, because I know that we have a lot of listeners from kind of all over the U.S., and I've seen quite a couple from different countries as well. Go ahead and join us and post your models. Talk to us. Tell us what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what you'd like to hear. If you want us to check out a game, I'm down for it, because just like one of the things I like is that feedback from the developers and seeing the open beta develop and seeing Games Workshop become something of the people. I want to know what you guys, who are the fans of this podcast, want us to do, because we'll do it.
Yeah, do it. Do it now.
I know that our next podcast recording will be, I believe, on the 24th when we do our first Hobby League Hobby Day, and we'll be discussing that along with some other things. So definitely we'll be posting the episode probably the 25th or 26th-ish, around there. Join us then. It'll be a lot of fun. And in the meantime, join that Facebook community. Join our group. Do that. Send me whatever you want to send me. Tell me what you think of my podcast. Actually, I had a gentleman that commented on some of our, because I post these episodes to YouTube as well. I had a gentleman comment on the podcast episode on YouTube, and I've talked to him. He's an experienced Malifaux player, and we're trying to set up a time for him to actually come and kind of demo some games for us as well.
Ooh, fancy.
So we can see what we're doing, what we're not doing.
Let me know how that works out, because we might have to set one of those up.
I've got to be there.
Up at the shop.
Cool.
Speaking of which, we may want to consider doing an episode or two that's video based if you're going to put it on YouTube. Video podcasts.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's that, and that may happen one day, but for right now, no.
The Beer Hammer in Technicolor.
Yeah, your mom's in Technicolor. Anyway, so with that being said, we're going to sign off for this episode. You guys have a good night and have fun. And for the next couple weeks, keep on gaming, keep on playing crap, and keep on drinking beer, because otherwise you fucking suck. I'm just kidding. You're awesome.